In that way, they are they're showing you the best version of their life.
Maybe like while you're cooking, just like listening to that like Italian music and imagining that you're on some like Italian coast.
And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Because you know what? At the end of the day, I'll be okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome back.
Welcome back to Chasing Me Podcast.
Yeah, we are here again. I know I say that every week, but yeah, I'm happy to be here. And I think we have a very interesting topic this week for you, which is, Alex?
Romanticizing your life.
Yay! Honestly, I didn't really know what that meant, I think, prior to us kind of talking about it. Mm-hmm. So I would love for Alex to kind of start us off with what is it and how maybe you think about it in your mind.
Okay. So romanticizing your life, I'm sure on Instagram, and if you haven't seen it, there are a lot of reels that are out there that really explain this like point of view of romanticizing your life and like video image of doing the things in your everyday that maybe like you are holding out hope for your future. So instead of holding out hope for it, you're actually taking action and doing it now. Or another perspective of it is really like, you know how in movies there are like just this narrative of it, everything's very romantic and everything that they do is this just like little over the top but not enough, but like it has music playing in the background of every moment and you're really feeling everything for what it is. So things like that as well. So it could be just like little moments of your day and making your meal with like all of your friends coming over for a late night drink or something like that.
I mean, that sounds like a fantastic life to me. When you were talking I know I've fantasized about like having a soundtrack to my life or like you have this like beat in your head, or it's like when you're driving your car, you know, like you get that, you hear that one song and you just like start to speed up just a little bit, you know, or drive a little bit more reckless. I know I do that, but it's like you think you're in the Fast and the Furious and you think you're doing the cool things. So if that's for romanticizing my life, yeah, I've definitely done it with driving. I've done it with, probably a handful of things.
I would say it is. That's what I think of is like those movie moments where you're like thinking that, I don't know, like this is my meet cute or this is my, there are little sayings that everyone says as like, you know, just casual pass-bys, but.
Or when you go to the airport and you think you're going to like find your traveler buddy and fall in love and then you're looking at every guy, you're like, are you my love? Are you my love? And then like you don't sit beside the guy you think is cute on the plane because I was like, darn. And it's someone else and you're like, oh, okay.
Every time. It happens actually without a doubt, which is a little sad to admit, but.
Is it bad that one time I was so like I fly Southwest often and you get to actually pick your seat. Mm-hmm. And there was one time that this is me just being too scared to do it. But like there was a seat open next to this guy that I thought was like kind of cute. Oh. I didn't take it because I'm lame. I'm sorry. Maybe that could have been my love. I don't know. I was like, too much pressure. And I went to the back of the plane where I usually sit.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. I don't know why. Like, not all the way back by, like, where the restrooms are at. I don't like that far back, but, like...
Like, one row behind him, you were like, hi.
I'm, like, whispering in his ear. No. But that's, like, me romanticizing these things that never happen, which is fine, but...
So, is this... When we brought up the conversation of doing this topic, is this what you thought of? Or what was your initial thoughts?
When I thought about romanticizing my life... or what it meant to me was what I thought my life should look like was the romanticizing, or what I always thought, like when I was 30, it would look like versus reality. Okay. So I was doing this kind of compare contrast, but now that you explained it, it makes a little bit more sense in terms of my actions, what I do in my day-to-day to maybe if this is what I thought I wanted. So I was kind of right, but like, this is what I thought it would be like, or, you know, what it could be, and I'm trying to do everything that I can in the current or the present to get as close to that as I can.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, but I kind of took it from more of a, which again, not surprising from Erica, a negative point of view. I'm like, oh, what am I missing?
Oh.
Versus like, what can I do to make my time more, special, I guess? Like when you were talking earlier, it's something's like, how do you, you romanticize your life, but like it's like what you do to make it special. I think it's like, if you don't have the things you think you wanted or had or should have, what can you do right now today to make it a little extra special? And Alex, she was talking about what she did yesterday, and I kind of stayed at home and was reading a bunch of stuff. I'm kind of studying for something. And
you're not kind of, you are.
I am studying for something that can potentially be a future episode if I actually pass. It's an exam. Anyways, and instead of, so I'm doing that in hopes to, in my mind, I'm kind of romanticizing this potential future.
Yes.
That could come with the passing of said exam. And like just thinking about it makes me excited, makes me like keep wanting to push forward, keep wanting me to spend all these grueling hours reading a book that I don't even understand. It's doing the things that now so that you can have the opportunity for a newer, brighter future. I think that's kind of something for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to know what you guys think regarding, like, are you, or when you first thought about it, were you on Erica's point of view or were you on my point of view? Not to say that yours was too different, but I would just love to know your guys' thoughts. And if you had a different thought when you hear this, please let us know.
Yeah.
Because I'm fascinated.
Yeah. What does romanticizing your life look like for you? Or what does it mean? Because it was a hard one for me to kind of
I think I'm on Instagram too much because it is, for me, everywhere. Because I think I have more whimsical, creative types of personalities who are on my feed that they're creative in so many different aspects. Like I follow people that are ceramics, they're artists, they're these travelers, they're always doing something that's like film or art or photography. A lot of those types of creators are on my feeds. And I think that narrative is very similar to like watching movies, doing publications, like magazines, creating a narrative for your life that is in line with the future that you want is what I think it really is.
But can romanticizing be, so like are you romanticizing their life a little bit? Like, are you looking at these people, these creatives, and being like, I want a life more like that? Or how do I incorporate, you see bits of yourself in each of them, and then you're like, I'm going to try to incorporate that into my life? Is that what you do? Or?
No, I just think I'm fascinated by the way that they present their version of what their life, like romanticizing their life is like.
Okay. Because in that way, they are setting up, they're showing you the best version of their life.
Always.
Typically on social media, you only show the best version of that as an inspiration or as, as a creative outlet. But
I think that, isn't that what, it's somewhat like escapism with watching like movies or things like that. Not, documentaries are very realistic. They're very factual, informative. And the things I gravitate towards are like science fictions or things that are very out there that are not real, like based at all. So I think that my personality is more just this like ever flowing, I want to romanticize my everyday. And part of that really is what Erica said. Like yesterday, I spent a day by myself and I was productive, which was great. I, cleaned, I did my laundry, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to a coffee shop. I'm going to study or work for a little bit. I worked for about an hour and a half and then came back home, was going to watch TV. It was like intentionally was like, I'm just tired. It's hot out. And then I turned it on and I was like, no, wait, I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to go to the beach by myself and just like take my book, take a journal, take some wine, and just enjoy my afternoon. It was like 2:00. I stayed till like about 5:30, maybe 4:30, 5:30, whatever. And yeah, I did the things and I spent a whole day to myself and I was just very happy by doing that, because like these are things I would do, of course, with other people and enjoy those moments with everyone. But I'm starting to try and romanticize my single life as being not this, like, you don't have to do it if you're alone, right? Like, I want to be able to do these things on my own and meet people along the way. Like, on my walk home, I met some person that lives in the neighborhood with a dog that was so friendly, and we got to chatting for a little bit. And you just meet people by putting yourself out there in these moments that, in my mind, I'm romanticizing. So,
yeah. When it comes to like relationships, it's always interesting it's hard because like there's this idea of like, we are both single still. And there's so many women out there who say like, oh, being single is so fun and whatnot. And I tend to, what I was telling Alex is like, I feel like I tend to only hear that narrative of it's fun to be single because they can kind of go out and be flirty and promiscuous and do those things. But for me, like that's not fun to me. I mean, who doesn't love to flirt a little bit at the bar, but like that's about as far as it goes, unless there's, something a little bit more substantial there. But Alex kind of hit it on the head where it's like, the idea of not having a partner to do all these things with doesn't mean you can't do them. And I think that's what I've definitely taken away from this conversation. And I know I can do a lot of things by myself. Do I want to? No, but are they less enjoyable because I am by myself? They shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can do them with friends or you can do them by yourself. And if you're sound with yourself in those moments, like, it'll be just as enjoyable, and I think that's, yeah.
And also, like, it makes you feel very grateful in those moments because you're in the present. And for me, at least, like, I was reflecting in the present on the present. And I really just was so happy and proud of myself and how far I've come with that journey of being able to do something alone and doing it happily and not scared and not in this mindset of, oh, people are like, I don't know, judging me or out to get me or whatever it is. There's always this fear, but at least yesterday I didn't have any fear doing any of it. So,
yay. Yeah. I love that. And when you were just talking about how you found pride in that, reminded me of just this morning when I was like eating my breakfast. I decided to grab my coffee, drink my breakfast, eat my breakfast. And I sat down in my kitchen by myself. And instead of, getting on my phone, I just kind of like sat there. And I had a moment of a little bit of bliss when I was like looking around my apartment and I was like, this is all mine.
Yeah.
And you realize how far you've come that in those moments. And I don't reflect very often like that. I typically tends to be always looking into the future of thinking about what I don't have yet, which I need to not do as much. Like, you do that in an instance where you're trying to motivate yourself to keep going or push forward. But in that moment, I kind of just like stopped and I stared and I was like, you know what? All of this is mine. Which I just said I wasn't on my phone, but I went and I grabbed my phone and I remember taking videos of the place when I toured it before I applied and actually got accepted into moving in. And it was completely empty. And I could see this like video of my apartment completely empty. And it took me back to those months when after I first moved in, like finding furniture, making it my own. This is my home. This is me. This is my aesthetic. This is everything that Erica is in a nutshell. And I look at it, I'm like, you know what? She's kind of a cool person, you know? And I had that little bit of, that's kind of romanticizing myself a little bit there, you know?
Yes.
It's like, I'm pretty cool. And, you know, I have unique perspective and I have a cool aesthetic. Like this is me in a nutshell. And sometimes like I lose track of that. But this morning I was like proud of myself. I've created this life where I live by myself. I enjoy it. And I have this, you know, space that's mine.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think I would have, you know, like a year ago. A year ago, I was still living with friends, but I was also saving a lot of money. So I loved it. So pros and cons. But this is something that I worked so hard for, and I'm proud of myself for being able to achieve it. So.
Oh, that's great. And I think that is a learning lesson and just like a piece of advice for anybody that's looking to romanticize their life a little bit more. It starts with your surroundings and it starts with your home. And, you know, by investing in yourself, it is only going to help build that confidence and build that pride and build this romantic life that you deserve. And I truly believe that everybody can have, no matter your means, no matter how much money you make. I think it's easy to get lost in the fact that you know, if you want luxurious things to maybe overspend and overcompensate. But I spent, I think, only like $6 in total yesterday. And, you know, I lived my romantic life by myself and alone and very happy and pleased with it, and came back home and I didn't need much more. And that's what I think, being okay with who you are and investing in yourself and allowing yourself to have these reflective moments will only help you gain that confidence within every decision that you make, which is what it is, right? All of those decor pieces that you have, all of those choices that you had to make. Like, I went shopping with her. I was there for the process. It wasn't always easy, but you found you. And within that, I think that it's only made your light bright, like shine even brighter. And I think that, yeah, I feel like I like lift other people up by romanticizing their life for them too at times.
Oh yeah, she totally does. Because I'm someone who, I've realized, even when you were talking earlier, I realized that I'm someone, unless I'm watching like anime, the only other thing I really watch is documentaries.
Oh.
And like movies, like most of the movies I watch aren't like, it's not a like docuseries. Yeah, I tend to like the things that are more educational and
Factual.
not as romanticized, because I love learning. Like, I love new information and hearing those things. And yeah, I tend to gravitate towards that. So like, I don't romanticize my life too much. But, and I think that's why it was hard for me for this topic a little bit, is because I'm a very structured person. We found this out last weekend. Erica's not as spontaneous as she thinks she is. My sister can vouch for that. We called her and she also agreed with Alex that Erica does not do many spontaneous things ever.
You do. It just takes a lot of teeth pulling is what I call it.
Yes. So I like to plan, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
I know this. I love the fact that I love to plan, but I think this like whimsical like comes with this like freedom that you give yourself to do the things that you want.
Yes.
When you want to do them. I tend to think that I'm doing them on my own free will, but I've thought about them probably for about a month. So I realized that it's not as spontaneous as I thought, but I do like more structure in my life, and that's just who I am. And I enjoy the color. Like, if you looked at my place, it's bright, it's colorful, has a lot of energy, and I love that because like that is me. But I do it in a very like structured way, which kind of contradicts themselves.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think it contradicts itself. I think that you have its fluidity, but within a certain amount of structure.
Yeah. But I have appreciation for history and like
Always,
in
yeah.
classical and like these whimsical paintings and things like that. So I appreciate the whimsicalness and the spontaneity and the romanticizing, but my mind for some reason just operates in a very square box.
No, I don't. I think everybody has that version of romanticizing in their life. Whatever that means to you, that's what it means to you. To me, right, and from all of the things that I've ever seen, it is more, I think, within what I'm classifying it as. But I think that there's always room for newer definitions of what romanticizing is for you, right? And for everybody, because who doesn't want more and better? Who doesn't want to better themselves? And in some ways, I think that by romanticizing your day to day, you do better your situation to make yourself not feel as depressed or in a rut. And it keeps your mind continuously giving it like hopefully good endorphins to keep you motivated throughout that day instead of being like, oh, well, it is hot out. I'm just going to sit inside with the lights off and watch TV and get my endorphins through escapism versus getting your endorphins through like actually doing something and being out in the world and observing how other people live. And like,
It's a fascinating place out there, the world.
I don't know. I love it. I love this topic.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one. And something else that kind of came to mind when I really think about romanticizing, if it's not my, honestly, like when I initially thought about it too, my community kind of came up where
Yes.
I romanticize this idea of at this point in my life, I would have previously, like it would have been like, oh, I would have been married. But I also would have, in my mind, I had this like core group of friends, this core group of people who were like my ride or dies. And like, that's kind of what I imagined. But as you get older, you realize how hard it is to maintain those really deep friendships. And I always like in my mind, still to this day, romanticize about having this like core group of people who you can call on for anything. You're always kind of on their list for invites. You're like, you do everything kind of together. I don't get offended if like I don't. And I have a group of people and we are getting closer and closer. But by golly, it took a lot to get there, and we're now, even as we get older, you start entering different zones and periods of your life. So like some are getting married with kids and they're not going to be as available to just run and go camping or doing the things like on a weekend as previously would. So I think this idea of community is also something I wanted to speak about. And it's hard to find and gain and maintain, but it's not impossible. And I think you gotta kind of have to keep looking. And I think in my mind, I have this like community. And then like when my partner comes, they just like slot in really nicely. But that's just not probably how it's going to happen.
You don't know that.
But like that's what I would hope. I would hope, because if they get along with me, they should like usually should get along with the people you're around, because they are a version of yourself in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me also romanticizing is the people around me and the community and feeling that support system. Mm-hmm. I think being in California though, I've always felt, because I'm away from my family in Kansas, that I don't know if it's, I don't want to say lacking, but I think I have a feeling of that because I don't have my family next to me all the time, or I can't go run over to my cousin's house, or I can't go see my parents like tomorrow if I wanted to. Like I technically could get on a flight, but it's not as easy. And I think that's something I miss out on, which makes me a little sad. But yeah, community for me is also...
It's important. And I think that it is something that is prevalent in everybody's day to day, that if you don't romanticize about your community or about your friends, or maybe feel as like grateful for the ones that you currently have, maybe do some reflection and see if there is an opportunity there for you to get even closer in your friendships. because it does take work. You're not in college. It's not everyone congregated in the same area as you and
doing the same things.
Same things.
It's so easy to make friends when you're all in the struggle together, going through college, being a part of a team in college. Like you kind of all come together by force. But to live that out in your day-to-day now, like Alex said, you really need to put in effort. And the older you get, the more effort it takes, because they're gonna be in their own communities, and they're gonna be in their own, zone and lane, and to have someone kind of come out of that to meet you halfway, and open up. It's gonna take time.
So I think that we now need to just give either some last minute advice.
I think that's the advice. Just take time.
Just take the time.
No, do something exciting. My advice to you is go do something exciting today.
I agree. That's great. Take a flight that you've always wanted to take randomly, if you've ever wanted to do that. Me personally, always want to do that. I literally talked about it last weekend.
Road trip. My parents just got back from vacation up to Michigan, and oh my goodness, their ability just to jump in the car and go. They didn't have a place planned, reserved to stay. Hey. And my dad's like, we might just stay in the truck. I was like, okay. That, go do that. I want to, Em and I talked about a road trip or getting in our cars and doing something. So yeah, go do something exciting today. That's my advice. And then also, don't worry so much about it. I try to remind myself that, reflect, remind myself how far I've come from where I have been. Mm-hmm. And then 2, I can't worry about the things that are in the future that I have no control over yet. All I can do is the things today that could potentially move me a step closer to that. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Because you know what? At the end of the day, I'll be okay.
Yeah. And if you have any fear about doing these things alone, my best advice around that is the more you do it, the less you'll care. I think it's taken me a solid year just to feel as comfortable as I did yesterday. So, and I have journal entries telling me how much I was uncomfortable a year ago. So,
from last year, journal entries?
For sure, yeah. Because I remember when I moved into this place, I tried to go and do things alone more often, and I would go to the hangout, or I would do all these things, and I would write in my journal when I went there, and I'd be like, oh my God, this is just intense. I don't know how I feel. I don't really love that I'm here alone. And now now I don't really care as much. So that's nice.
We have growth. We see growth.
Tolerance is being built towards my own inner judgment and my own inner voice telling me that it is strange to do the things alone. And my romanticized voice is saying, this is a beautiful life that you get to live. So enjoy every moment.
Yeah. Enjoy every moment. And enjoy every moment as you hit the subscribe button.
Come with us on our journey
to continue
of enjoying every moment with us and enjoying every moment alone by yourself. We appreciate you all tuning in, and we hope that you do subscribe to us because we would love to continue making this content for everybody.
Yes. It'd be nice. So subscribe, and then we will see you next week.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.